fake tears from connecting. But on Marco's side of the field, we're seeing a Duraludon, Whimsicott, Dracovish, Rotom Heat, Sylveon, and Conkeldurr. So some interesting picks from both these trainers.
Yeah, the dynamic of this matchup is interesting because for Marco's end, you've got one main means of speed control with Whimsicott and Tailwind, but for Daichi, you've got Tyranitar and Excadrill, and if you just set up the sand, Excadrill is able to pretty much outspeed everything on Marco's end. I think that the combination of Tyranitar and Excadrill is actually really, really deadly for the most part against Marco's team, but Conkeldurr is one Pokemon that counters that duo very, very well. So, for example, if Daichi wants to go with the sand mode with Tyranitar Excadrill, surely he's going to bring Togekiss in the back, one of the best answers to the Conkeldurr. I think Dusclops is the Pokemon that really stands out to me on Daichi's team because it's not like a hard Trick Room team by any means. You normally see Dusclops on compositions with, say, like Rhyperior or Torkoal, teams that really want to set up Trick Room. So this might be Daichi's answer to opposing Trick Room teams, and it might have some more support-oriented moves, attacks like Will-O-Wisp, for example, to really shut down the opposing side. And both Pokemon, or both trainers actually have Rotom as well, which I think is going to be a neat interaction. I mean, Marco's Rotom is one of the better answers probably against that Togekiss, but it really suffers against the rest of the team, so curious if he ends up bringing that. Of course, we see the common Whimsicott Duraludon duo from Marco's end, but the tricky thing about that duo is it falls pretty easily to Excadrill.
All right, well, one Rotom is out on the field already. Daichi leading Togekiss and Rotom Wash against the classic Whimsicott and Duraludon lead on Marco's side of the field.
Yeah, so no Excadrill comes out immediately, and Duraludon actually in a pretty comfortable position right now. Often with the duel like this, Whimsicott can go for something like a Tailwind, but can also just opt for a turn 1 Fake Tears, and perhaps a Fake Tears and a Max Steel Spike from Duraludon once Dynamax will just knock out the Togekiss. Rotom is a pretty big threat, I'd say, to Marco's team, but definitely not to Whimsicott and Duraludon. You'd probably prefer to have it for the Dracovish or the Rotom Heatless in the back. So Rotom kind of in an awkward spot right now. I think Marco's in a prime position to just go for Tailwind or Fake Tears and just start getting big damage off with the Dynamax Duraludon.
Well, big damage from a potentially big Pokemon. That Duraludon is going to Dynamax immediately on the field. Going to get access to some extra health points to allow it to stick around for a little bit longer, and all of those insanely powerful max moves. Whimsicott is going for the Fake Tears. No redirection on Daichi's side of the field. Going to drop that Togekiss's special defense by 2 stages.
Ooh.
Rotom getting a little boost in of its own, going for a nasty plot. Really interesting that the Togekiss didn't go for something like a Follow Me to protect it there. Going to be taking some big damage from this Max Steel Strike from the Dynamax Duraludon, but with the Battery Berry, nope, it cannot hold on. That is a clean knockout from Marco in turn 1 of this game 1.
Yeah, so pretty safe play for Marco to make there. Togekiss often really don't carry Protect, and in that position, there's more free reign for what you want to go for, but since Duraludon probably has Stalwart, if you target Rotom with Max Wormwind, yeah, that could do a lot of damage, but if Togekiss goes for the Follow Me, then the Fake Tears will get redirected into Togekiss, so a little bit safer to maybe just get a knockout. If the Togekiss does not Dynamax there, then as we saw even with Babiri Berry, you're able to pick up the knockout. Rotom going for a really interesting move. That Nasty Plot, something that I think is actually really picked up in popularity going into this tournament. You see it on Rotom Wash, Rotom Heat as well, and gives it a little bit more firepower. I think Excadrill definitely is a great Pokemon to send out right now for Daichi to at least threaten both of these offensively, but Marco does have the speed advantage now in the sense that he can just go for Tailwind. Duraludon is at +1 defense, so a max ground attack from the opposing Excadrill won't knock out the Duraludon. And you could even maybe just go for like Fake Tears and Max Wormwind into Rotom. Like maybe you don't even really need to care about the speed right now because Duraludon still hasn't taken any damage yet.
Yeah, I'm curious to see that Nasty Plot from the Rotom Wash because that is a move that you really have to dedicate time to. And I feel like Daichi would not have gone for that move unless he had a specific purpose in mind for it. For now, he is going to start off this turn with Dynamaxing that Rotom Wash, potentially going to try and maybe hold on through a Fake Tears plus an attack from that Duraludon on Marco's side of the field. Whimsicott, though, not going for the Fake Tears, instead going to set up Tailwind to ensure that Duraludon is going to move next onto the field, going for a Max Wormwind, going to make contact with that Rotom, deal a little bit of damage, but more importantly, drop the attack stage of both that Rotom Wash and the Excadrill on Daichi's side of the field. So that Excadrill will no longer be able to deal as much damage with that high horsepower connecting into that Duraludon. It hardly did anything. And Rotom going for a Max Darkness into the Duraludon as well. So just a little bit of damage from Daichi this turn from both of his Pokemon. putting that Duraludon in knockout range, especially since he was able to drop the special attack stats from both Pokemon on the opposing side of the field.
Yeah, a bunch of important reveals here. I mean, we've seen Duraludon take that Max Darkness pretty well. Duraludon has a pretty low special defense, and it doesn't have a Life Orb, which it often carries, so might be that Assault Vest item on it, which allows it to hang on from that Rotom. Rotom also revealing Leftovers instead of the Citrus Berry that we often see on it, and the Dark Pulse reveal, meaning you're probably running something like Nasty Claw, Dark Pulse, Thunderbolt, and Hydro Pump, so might not have Protect, but like we were talking just before this game, you can Max Guard through Nasty Claw turning into it.
Whimsicott going for a Moonblast into that Excadrill, potentially looking to break a Focus Sash that it might be carrying. Duraludon following up with a Max Steel Spike. It will connect. It does not KO, so will manage to boost the defense of that Duraludon and that Whimsicott again by 1 stage each. So really just trying to ensure that these Pokemon are able to hang around on the field through these special effective attacks like the Iron Head onto that Whimsicott.
Yeah, it doesn't get the knockout there, but really, really great play by Marco there. Rotom obviously going for the Max Guard, doesn't want to take that Fake Tears Max Wormwind, which should pick up the KO. Marco makes a nice read there. Pretty safe also to double up an Excadrill. I mean, if Rotom attacks there, you knock out one of the 2 Pokemon, but because Excadrill's attack is, at -2 at this point, or you also have the defense boosts, like, you're just not really taking much damage from it, especially non-Dynamax form. So Marco's also stalled out 2 turns of Dynamax now. There's only 1 more turn. You can pretty safely go for a Fake Tears Draco Meteor. The question is it enough to get the knockout? But Marco, of course, does have the speed advantage right now, still with Tailwind.
Yeah, Draco Meteor will connect, and with the help of Fake Tears, it is able to pick up a knockout. So unfortunately for that Duraludon, its special attack will drop 2 stages as a result of that successful attack. But I think more importantly, the Rotom has been removed from play before it was able to attack. And Ironhead again missing a knockout on that Whimsicott. Those defense boosts coming in handy so much.
Yeah, Marco's really been able to, utilize speed super well. And Dragapult actually comes out as the last one, so that's definitely an interesting Pokemon, and I think this will reveal, what kind of Dragapult set it is. And I have to wonder from Daichi's end, do you reveal it or not? It looks like he's not going to because he's so far behind. And the thing about Dragapult is one of the strongest things is that you don't know what set it is. It could be physical, it could be special, and that changes dramatically how you play the game. So I think because Daichi realized he was so far behind, Marco still has the Tailwind up, could potentially even set up another Tailwind by switching out. Excadrill's doing no damage at that point, kind of just wants to go back to the drawing board and call it a game.
What I find interesting as well is we didn't also get to see the Dragapult's held item. So if that was running something like a Choice Scarf, for example, it's possible we might see Daichi adapt and maybe lead that Pokemon first to try and outspeed even with the presence of a Tailwind from Marco. Yeah,
and I think there are a lot of big reveals there. Now that Daichi knows, okay, it's Assault Vest Duraludon, it's not the Life Orb variant we often see, so it's bulkier. The whole strategy of nasty plotting and then going for Max Darkness doesn't work out too well. And I think he might want to consider a more Excadrill-centered strategy. If you go with Tyranitar and Excadrill, and your Excadrill is EV to outspeed, for example, Duraludon, especially because this looks like a bulkier Duraludon, maybe you can just trade damage, go for, go for max moves and have the speed advantage basically against it. So I wonder if Daichi maybe wants to reconsider his lead. I think what he brought definitely could work against Whimsicott Duraludon, but not the Whimsicott Duraludon combo that Marco has. So really, really well played by Marco, I thought, in that game, especially the nice read into the Excadrill. The Rotom went for max guard, and then after that it was just a super safe play because there was, no way to really counter that Fake Tears Draco Meteor play, especially because Daichi ended up bringing that Togekiss, which I was kind of surprised by. But as you see in that last game, Daichi didn't really opt to go for like a sand-based strategy. This time around, he might want to consider going with like Tyranitar, Excadrill, and Togekiss.
Yeah, you really need that speed control on the field, especially with something like a Whimsicott in play, because it has that Prankster ability. That means any status moves are going to be a priority tier higher than everything else. And when you have such easy access to Tailwind or Fake Tears, if you don't have the speed control on your own side of the field to sort of counteract that, again, it just starts adding up. And I feel like Marco just had so much momentum, turn 2 of the game, that Daichi was in a really unfortunate spot where even though he had, amazing potential with that Rotom Wash, he just couldn't catch up.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, if you're Marco and you're expecting maybe the Sand mode to come out here, perhaps you can still go with Whimsicott Duraludon, but you tech in like Dracovish and the Conkeldurr in the back. Both are pretty good Pokemon to have up against the Sand matchup. Dusclops is certainly a Pokemon worth considering. It does counter the Trick Room, but it is going to be Togekiss Excadrill, one of the most popular pairs in this format.
And Whimsicott Duraludon on the field for Marco again. So if Marco made adjustments, I don't think we'll be seeing them as his lead.
Yeah. So we know that the Togekiss does have the Babiri Berry, so it should be able to survive just a regular max Steel Spike, but obviously we know that Whimsicott here has Fake Tears, so you can just go for immediate speed control to, you know, outspeed the Excadrill as well. I really want to see how the Duraludon speed matches up against this Excadrill, because, you know, sometimes we see the interaction where it's max speed Duraludon and Excadrill has like no speed investment, and so Duraludon will actually be able to go first, but we are going to see the Dynamax come out here.
And you have to imagine it is going to be that Excadrill just wanting to get access to something like a max move.
Yeah.
Just because you want that extra damage, and maybe you want the special defense boost as well that something like a Max Quake would give you.
Yeah, so Excadrill Dynamaxing first. You have to wonder if Duraludon is also going to Dynamax, and it looks like it is. So that's actually a really big piece of information. I mean, Excadrill is naturally faster than Duraludon, so not super surprising, but does, you know, play a big role in this matchup, because that means even if you set up the Tailwind with Whimsicott, Daichi could switch into Tyranitar, which sets up the Sand, and Excadrill will be able to outspeed the Duraludon, and perhaps 2 Max Quakes will knock it out. We'll have to see, you know, what item the Excadrill has first of all.
Yeah, and that will be revealed real shortly as Togekiss on Daichi's side of the field reveals that it Rock Protect. So the combination of Fake Tears and the Max Steel Spike will not be enough to KO it, as Whimsicott going for a Tailwind. So unfortunately, we will not get any speed information from this Excadrill and Duraludon. Instead, Max Wormwind will drop the attack stat of that Excadrill by 1 stage, something really important when you know that Daichi is going to be going for a super effective attack, in this case the Max Quake against that Duraludon. So just really good information, you know, dealing damage on the physical side rather than the special, but unfortunately that attack drop puts it in a 2-hit knockout range.
Yeah, you know, Marco making kind of a aggressive read there, saying, okay, Togekiss isn't going to do much damage. I know you're the Babiri set. I'm not even going to bother trying to knock it out because, you know, Duraludon doesn't worry about the redirection anyway. So nice read there. Togekiss is a Pokemon that often doesn't even carry Protect, so Marco really gets the most out of that turn. Now you've got a Duraludon that's faster. If Daichi wants to regain the speed advantage, he's going to have to swap out that Togekiss into Tyranitar, but you know, that first Max Quake did just under 50%, so there's no guarantee you can even get the knockout here by switching into Tyranitar. So, you know, I like the adjustment here by bringing Excadrill. We're just going to see a Fake Tears come out immediately, so this might be one Pokemon going down.
Well, it looks like the Togekiss's special attack is going to drop, and Duraludon targets it with a Max Lightning to get around the Babiri Berry to guarantee that knockout. Again, that's great information for Daichi moving forwards, knowing that this Duraludon is carrying an electric-type attack, probably specifically for this situation with the Babiri Berry Togekiss, but, you know, still just something to keep in mind if we get a Game 3. Max Rockfall will be how Daichi chooses to set up Sand. You know, no Tyranitar switch, instead relying on the secondary effect of this move to bring Sand up onto the field and bringing Togekiss down to about half damage as well.
Yeah, I have to wonder if there's a Tyranitar even in the back then. You know, Max Rockfall, a way to manually set up the Sand, and now it allows you to switch in something that's more useful. For example, maybe that Rotom or that Dragapult, whereas Tyranitar would be kind of in an awkward spot if it were to come out right here. Looks like it is going to be that Rotom.
Yeah, and I'm really curious about, you know, these teams in general where you don't necessarily bring the Weather Setter and you rely on the max moves. You know, it's a lot of dedication to get that speed boost, but in this situation where maybe you don't want to switch in a Pokemon to take a Max Lightning, it works out to your advantage.
Yeah, and I wonder here, I mean, given that Rotom's revealed Dark Pulse and Nasty Plot, for Marco's end, maybe you can just go for Fake Tears and Max Wormwind into that slot, even though the Excadrill will be faster. I mean, it really comes down to, does Max Quake get the knockout there? That first one did 176, it looks like, and so it really feels like a 50-50, and yeah, there's no Protect from the Rotom, so if Excadrill doesn't get the KO, I guess you will get the Max Quick boost, so you probably won't get the knockout through. Oh wow, but he goes for Max Steel Spike.
So going for a defensive boost and super effective damage on Whimsicott and completely ignoring the Duraludon, which I think is going to be huge moving forwards, as this Duraludon is really going to have its pick of what Pokemon it wants to KO here. You know, we saw the Fake Tears drop the special defense of that Rotom by 2 stages, so you know Max Wormwind is going to be an easy KO, and I think more importantly, it's going to further lower that Excadrill's attack.
Yeah, Excadrill does have increased stages of defense and special defense right now, but I believe it's at -2 attack, and Dynamax is about to end as well, so you know, once again, well played by Marco, especially that turn 1 read. Like, being able to just decrease Excadrill's attack is huge, and Dracovish is out now. It's an excellent Pokemon to bring, and I wanted to actually comment on this because one thing that Daichi did was lead the Togekiss, and so I think that Togekiss is really essential in this matchup for Follow Me, especially for the potential late game Dracovish. But the fact is that now you don't have it anymore. If it is like a Choice Scar variant, able to maybe just outspeed the it depends on if it's max speed Dragapult. If it is, then it can actually still outspeed the Dracovish. So this is still anyone's game. Excadrill's not doing much damage at this point. Dracovish really threatens either of these with a potential knockout, especially depending on his moveset. You still have to worry about Duraludon, you know, maybe getting a big Draco Meteor off here as well.
Well, Duraludon is actually removed from the field, revealing Marco's final Pokemon, which is going to be that Conkeldurr, going to deal a ton of damage to this Excadrill. So protect from Excadrill, keeping it safe, but Dracovish making the correct call and picking up an easy knockout onto that Dragapult with a crunch, outspeeding it as well. So that is game, I think, for Marco. He should be pretty easy to clean up that Excadrill at this point.
Yeah, and you know, Tailwind was more importantly still up there, so Dragapult not being able to outspeed just naturally there. And the fact that it didn't protect makes me think perhaps it was a choice variant. We often see something like Choice Specs or Choice Scarf on Dragapult. So very, very well played by Marco, I think, throughout this entire set. Just stuck to Whimsicott Duraludon.